The doors to the throne room groaned open, old iron hinges echoing through the vaulted ceilings. Damon stepped in first, Sivares close behind, silver scales catching torchlight, and keys perched on his shoulder with twitching whiskers. For a heartbeat the room froze. Courtiers, ministers, and scribes stared. Armored knights shifted, hands close to hilts. Scribes dipped pens, poised to record history. Even for a dragon, the air pressed heavily. Under so many gazes, Sivares felt smaller than ever. And there, seated upon the throne, carved from dark oak and inlaid with gold leaf, was King Albrecht IV. Damon had seen the king's face on posters in Hamblum and on the daily paper, but never in person. Now the king's presence filled the room. His shoulders bore a kingdom's weight, gaze sharp and curious. The Count Mage stands next to him, hand resting on his staff. The silence stretched until the king lifted his hand. "So," Albrecht began, his voice resonant, filling the chamber without effort. "The dragon Sivares, and those who travel with her. You stand in my hall under royal summons. Know that your words today will shape more than your own fates. They may alter the course of this kingdom." "Oh." Sivares drew a slow breath to steady herself. She flexed her talons against the marble, grounding herself. She had flown through storms, faced hunters, and survived the loss of her mother. Speaking here, before men known for dragon slaying, brought a new kind of challenge, tensing muscles beneath her scales. Her golden eyes met Damon's briefly. He gave a subtle nod. "You've got this. I'm here." Keys muttered into Damon's ear just loud enough for him alone. No pressure. Just the fate of dragonkind, human politics, and probably whether we get free snacks later. "Nedars, so." Damon nearly smirked despite himself. Sivares lowered her head in respect, not submission. When she spoke, her voice was low and thunderous, echoing through the chamber. "Then let us speak plainly, Your Majesty." The throne room was thick with silence, broken only by the scratching of quills as scribes leaned forward to capture every breath of the moment. Courtiers shifted in their seats, some eyes wide with fascination, others narrowed with suspicion. King Albrecht leaned back, drumming his fingers once on the armrest before stilling. His voice was measured and sharp. "Let the record show. The dragon Sivares presents herself before the crown with companions Damon and Keys. Nguyen." His gaze flicked briefly to the small mouse perched on Damon's shoulder, one brow twitching as though unsure if he should address her as an equal or a curiosity. The first question came from Chancellor Varick, a gray-haired man with sharp eyes and sharper words. He rose, holding a parchment. "Your Majesty, reports claim this dragon has hunted in our lands, taken cattle, scattered caravans, left villages in fear. Tell us, Sivares, are you predator or guest?" Sivares shifted, claws etching faint grooves in marble. Every eye fixed on her. For a moment, she looked cornered, fear pressing at her scales. Then her golden eyes lifted, steady. "I have hunted. Yes," she rumbled, the words low as rolling thunder. "But only what I needed to live. Never for waste. Never for sport. A deer for hunger, not a herd for slaughter. If fear followed me, it is because stories painted me as a monster before I was ever seen. Nay, murmurs swept the chamber. Damon stepped forward. "I've lived and traveled with her. If she were a beast, you'd see burned towns, not a mailbag. She carries letters, not corpses." "No, pain." A ripple of laughter broke the tension. Quiet, nervous, but enough to shift the air. Another man rose. A baron with a chest like a barrel and a face set in suspicion. "And what of loyalty? Dragons have brought kingdoms to ruin before. What binds this one from turning fire upon us the moment her hunger or temper stirs?" Keezer's whiskers twitched. She leaned forward and piped up from Damon's shoulder, her tiny voice sharper than expected. Maybe the fact that she hasn't already. You've all had days and weeks to gather armies, set traps, and line up shiny spears. And yet, here she is. Calm Dachiman. Which I said, talking. Eating cookies, not courtiers. If that's not proof she's different, what more do you want? A signed affidavit? A few scribes actually sputtered quills with laughter before quickly composing themselves. The king fixed his gaze on Sivares, weighing history's fire and war against her presence now. Finally, he spoke. Dragon, tell me plainly, why are you here in my kingdom? What is it you seek? The hall stilled again. Sivares' chest rose, then fell. She lowered her head, not in defeat but in honesty. I seek to live, she said simply. Not in shadow, not hunted, not chained to the fear of what I might be. I wish only to fly without being marked for death. To carry the trust of those I call friends, and perhaps, if your kingdom allows it, to serve as more than a beast in your stories. Wow. Her words hung in the chamber, their impact spreading quietly through the room. Damon stood at her side. Keys, now quiet, rested a paw on his collar. King Albrecht didn't answer immediately. His fingers curled on the throne's armrest as counselors whispered, scribes scribbled, and knights shifted in armor. The judgment, everyone knew, would not be given lightly. The king's eyes lingered on Sivares for a long moment before shifting to Damon. Then tell me, Rider, what is your end goal? What do you and your companions plan to do? Surely you must want more than wandering the skies. Power? Titles? A kingdom of your own? The chamber stilled, every scribe's quill poised above parchment, ready to capture some grand declaration. Damon shrugged. Honestly, we're couriers. It means we're free to fly. Beyond that, no real end goal, just good food, new skays, and unseen places. Niwadidra. He smiled at Sivares and Keys. Power and titles. Nice, but not needed. What matters is being together and enjoying our time. That's enough. Nya. A murmur rippled through the chamber, counselors exchanging baffled looks, courtiers blinking as if they'd expected schemes and ambitions, not honesty. Keys piped up from Damon's shoulder, her whiskers quivering faintly as she added, and snacks, she chimed in proudly. Don't forget snacks. The ripple of laughter that followed wasn't mocking. It was startled, human, even a little warm. King Albrecht's expression remained unreadable, but his fingers stopped drumming on the throne. The nobles standing at his side had their own reputations, polished or tarnished, earned over years of maneuvering at court. Some were loyal, some ambitious, some barely trustworthy, but all of them he knew. And then there was the boy. This Damon. Albrecht frowned, not in anger but curiosity. Damon didn't bow, or grovel, nor boast. He stood steady, calm, and unshaken by the crown's weight. The king tapped his finger on the throne. How curious, a dragon at his side, a mouse mage on his shoulder, and still he stands this way. The king's gaze shifted from Damon to the tiny figure perched on his shoulder. And you, little one, Albrecht continued, voice measured but steady, the mage mouse. I am told you were present for the burning of Honeywood. Borif himself vouched that it was necessary, but I must hear it from you. Was it truly the only way? The chamber grew still. Even the scratch of quills halted. Key's ears drooped, and for once her whiskers didn't twitch with curiosity. When she spoke, her voice carried a small weight of sorrow that hushed the room more than any command. Yes, Your Majesty. I saw it myself. Oh. She looked down, claws fidgeting with Damon's collar. The others were overrun. The spiders corrupted everything. Even the elves' mana tree was dead, rotted black. Not all. She drew a shaky breath, her candle flame voice steadying only when she added, There was no saving Honeywood. Only fire could cleanse it. Damon's end. Some of the lords muttered darkly, but she pressed on, standing taller and gripping Damon's collar for comfort. We asked Sivares for help. She carried our history on her back, the books, the relics, even the children. Everything that could be saved, we saved. We built anew by her side. What we have now is because of her. Nay, ma. Kizu's whiskers quivered faintly as she concluded. King Albrecht's gaze lingered on them for a long moment. From the weight in his eyes it was clear. He saw no malice in the dragon or her companions, no intent to bring harm to his kingdom. Yet trust was a risk, and one not easily granted. At last, he spoke. You may leave. I may call upon you again at a later time for further talks. But for now, so long as you bring no fire to my kingdom, you may fly its skies. Nirshidor. They bowed and withdrew. The great doors closed behind them with a heavy thud, the sound echoing across the vaulted chamber. Murden leaned in toward the throne, his voice low. Sire, are you certain it is wise to let them go? If we seized the boy, I am sure the dragon would bend to our will. Ha! Albrecht's gaze did not shift from the doors. Perhaps, for a time. But dragons live very long, Murden. Longer than men, longer than kings. And I have heard they never forget a grudge. No. His voice deepened, carrying the weight of memory. Even with Runegear, how much destruction might a betrayed dragon bring? How many cities burned, how many lives lost? To try and bind such a creature would not be control. It would be like trying to leash a storm. You should more. Murden pressed his lips thin but said no more. Albrecht exhaled slowly. No. Let them be. Watch them, listen, and weigh their actions. Time will tell if they are truly allies, or enemies yet to come. Ninas Ganji Yada. There may be others, he said at last, more to himself than to Murden. Already 2 have shown themselves within our borders. 2, after 20 years of silence. If there are more, hidden or waiting, we are blind to their number or their intent. These 2 may mean no harm. But too many unknowns make for a poor defense. Wancha. Murden inclined his head. The anti-dragon defenses along the borders and in the cities are moving into position, sire. But, sir, they were built for war, not for peace. Indeed. Albrecht leaned back in his chair, the weight of memory etched deep into the lines of his face. Then, softly, he said, My father once told me, a wise king offers one hand with an open palm. With the other, he keeps a dagger concealed. To do less is to invite ruin, or to be a fool. In the den Tamadani, by all. He let the words linger, his eyes drifting toward the window, where the last light of day faded beyond the mountains. I just pray, he murmured, voice quieter now, that we never need to draw that dagger. Sivares seemed the earnest sort. I would rather extend the open palm and keep it that way. Now then something more. His words echoed in the chamber, reminding everyone, including himself, that kings cannot trust without caution. Albrecht rose from the throne, the weight of a king still on his shoulders, but beneath it the sigh of a father. Now for my wayward daughter, he muttered. The one who thought it wise to sneak out and ride a dragon back into my city. I will need a word with her. In my office. Nyendidiri. My herbality saw. Ilno and the beige dot. Murden bowed slightly. It will be done, sire. Albrecht rose from the throne, the weight of a king still on his shoulders, but beneath it the hint of a smile. How is the queen, anyway?